Hello everyone, I'm Tong Yunyin, the curator of Asian art at the Lazarjan Museum of Lapidary Art. It is my great pleasure to talk about the artworks in our special exhibition, Recarving the Past, the Art of Chinese Bronzes and Jades. Opened in November 2019, this exhibition aims to celebrate the reopening of the museum at Oak Brook, Illinois, by featuring 11 bronzes from the McLean Collection Asian Art Museum and 15 jade carvings from the Lazarjan Museum of Lapidary Art. Bronzes and jade carvings represent the highest achievement of Chinese ritual and decorative art. As early as 3500 BCE, ancient Chinese people had already developed unique technical and artistic languages of jade carving. The succeeding Bronze Age, from around 2000 BCE to 450 BCE, witnessed the sophistication and prosperity of casting majestic bronze vessels for state ritual and ancestor worship. Bronzes and jades were not only revered as emblems of political legitimacy and cultural identity, but also appreciated as symbols of good taste and an elegant lifestyle throughout Chinese history. At the past being a primary source in historical and cultural consciousness in China, fascination with the material remnants of antiquity brought enormous inspiration to art creation. Jade carved to emulate the archaic forms and designs of ritual bronzes has been highly treasured by the elite class since the 11th century. This practice reached its peak during Emperor Qianlong's reign in the 18th century. Jade carvings imitating archaic pieces were produced in large quantities. For example, on this well-known painting of Emperor Qianlong's portrait, he was surrounded by a wide variety of antique bronzes and jades, such as the jade bee and the jade oblong bowl and the bronze wine vessel Gu and Jia. In the following talk, I'm going to put side by side the early ritual bronzes and the late jade carvings to discuss the major aesthetic features and symbolic associations of these two highly appreciated art forms in Chinese history. The jade carvings in this exhibition can be classified into two broad categories: those that are based on early models in shape, and those that impart an archaic feeling, usually from their decorations. The gu is one of the most common bronze goblets used for fermented beverages at ritual ceremonies. Its trumpet-shaped body is flared in its upper part and at its base. The middle section is slightly protruding, sometimes flanked by 4 flanges. The jade gu has a similar taut profile with its bronze prototype, but with more exaggerated flanges from its foot all the way to the ring to form an uninterrupted vertical line. Its close approximation of the tall and elegant shape of a bronze vessel indicates that the artisan must have had a model so studied after. The ding is the most important vessel in Chinese history. Since the origin of Chinese civilization, the ding has been considered as a symbol of the legitimacy of supreme royal power. Therefore, the ability to produce or obtain a ding and to continue to possess a ding from previous dynasties was considered a sign of heaven-bestowed legitimacy and continuing heavenly protection. The ding is a food container and cooking vessel. This ding has a round bowl-shaped body surmounted by 2 handles and supported on 3 cylindrical legs. The shape of this Nafred jade ding was modeled after a bronze ding vessel, but the simple decoration of the bronze ding was replaced by more elaborate zoomorphic patterns. The knob of the lid is carved to resemble a lion, which is another feature present in later jade vessels. The fang ding, or the square-shaped ding, is a rectangular cooking vessel. Two vertical handles are fixed on the rim. The body is supported by four cylindrical legs. The lid of the ding-shaped jade incense burner is surmounted by a lion and a cup playing with the ball. In these two jade vessels, we see that the jade carvers incorporated later motifs, the lion, into the earlier prototypes. Hu is a jar-shaped vessel with a bulbous body resting on a rim foot. The body narrows around the shoulder and up towards a long neck. Most Hu vessels have a cover. Some have suspended chain handles, like the two examples in the exhibition. Hu was used as a container for fermented beverages or water, depending on what the situation called for. The small size of the jade Hu and the way it is displayed suggests that it was made as a decorative object with no practical functions. Zun is also a vessel used to hold fermented beverages. The shape of the vessel is characterized by its high cylindrical body, a narrow neck that flares outwards as it rises, and a downwardly sloping rim foot. On this Zun, the lapidary artist not only added two ring handles with monster masks that are commonly seen on some other bronze vessels, but also decorated the body with an open-work dragon and other auspicious symbols, such as a linger fungus seen at the bottom. This makes a piece a combination of symbolism related to longevity with an interest in archaic forms. This combination is quite common in the late 18th and 19th centuries. In this exhibition, there are jade carvings that don't necessarily share the same shapes with their bronze counterparts, but have decorations that indicate their imitation of ancient bronze vessels. The predominant features of bronze decorations are balance and symmetry. Although the shapes of the two vessels are different, the similarity of the C-shaped handles suggests that the jade vessel was modeled after a ritual bronze. Surmounted by animal heads with horns that lay flat against the side of the head, the handles have the pendant tabs at the bottom to represent the hooked tails of the animal. The principal decorative motif on ritual bronze vessels is the Tao Tie, or monster mask. Its design consists of a composite dragon-like animal whose body has been split down the middle and splayed out on both sides of the head. The head of the Tao Tie has large bulging eyes, horns, and a gaping mouth. The body at times has only a pair of legs. Tao Tie literally means glutton, and was probably inspired by the fact that the monster is usually portrayed as an ever-devouring beast. The function of the Tao Tie motif has been variously interpreted, be it totemic, protective, or a symbolic representation of the forces of nature. Even though on this jade carving, the Tao Tie image is dissolved into more simplified patterns, they still remind us of the origins of its inspirations. In addition to vessels modeled after the ritual bronzes, lapidary artists also made small personal ornaments and objects after the ancient prototypes, such as the belt hooks in the exhibition. Belt hooks were introduced into Chinese fashion from northern nomadic tribes in the 3rd century. The bronze and jade belt hooks share a great deal of similarity in their forms and decorations. Each ends in the head of a dragon and a curved handle with a stud on its base. In contrast to the relatively simplified shape of the bronze hook, the jade belt hook has a scrolling hornless Qilong dragon advancing toward the horned dragon head terminal, which was carved in high relief and is featured with a dramatic expression and a bulging forehead. The open work is significant for its round sculpting and precision. Bronze vessels became popular decorative motifs in the 18th and 19th centuries. Snuff bottles are containers for snuff, a type of powdered tobacco mixed with aromatic herbs. Snuff was introduced into China by European missionaries in the mid-17th century and gained its popularity in the 18th and 19th centuries. Chinese people used small bottles with narrow necks and caps attached with tiny spoons to keep the snuff powder dry and to preserve the aroma. As handheld objects, snuff bottles were also treated as fertile ground for artisans' artistic creativity and their users' personal expressions. These snuff bottles were made of Peking glass. Peking glass was produced in the imperial workshops under the supervision of the Jesuit missionaries during the 18th and 19th centuries. These cameo-type snuff bottles were created around a core, which was covered by multiple layers of different colored glass to produce the base for low-relief carving. Varied bronze vessel patterns, such as the cooking vessel ding and incense burners, and the contrasting translucent or white tone background were featured on these snuff bottles. Widely known as the motif of Bogu Tu, or the picture of abundant antiques, this decorative pattern reflects the enduring prestige of antiquity in Chinese art. The aesthetic appeal of ancient bronzes, as well as their historical associations, made them highly prized artworks throughout Chinese history. In late imperial China, inspired by antique forms and patterns, artisans created arresting jade pieces honoring the past. Late imperial jade carvings emulating ritual bronzes show the fluidity in the mixed ideas of form and decorations. From early bronzes to late jade carvings, objects gradually lost their ritualistic value and began to reflect the status and taste of their owners through ornamental elements and their archaic associations. Thank you so much for watching. Please come visit the special exhibition when the museum reopens.